What do you two think of Melbourne?
What do you think of Melbourne, Blizzard?
Could you share a Australian jargon or like a slang?
Oh yeah, these people are just very close. Nobody really talks to you much. You don't get much interaction, and the most you get is just the food.
Is there some words only you and your hometown people know? Like
Parce.
"Parce."
Yes.
What does that mean? What do you think of Melbourne?
I think Melbourne's pretty cool. I like how multicultural it is because my mum also, she came here as an immigrant and then she married my dad and he's Australian. I also want to raise my kids here.
What do you think of Melbourne?
This is a really good place for living. It's very safe. Everything happens here. The F1, Australian Open, concerts, festivals, everything is here. My hometown, there is Tunja and Bogota.
What do you think is the main difference between Melbourne and your hometown?
Yeah.
Security?
Yeah.
Like, which one is secure?
Melbourne is very safe. Unfortunately, back home is really hard. You always could feel like danger or like everywhere.
What do you think of Melbourne?
I think Melbourne is just such a hub for creativity. It is such a beautiful place to really feel comfortable to express yourself and interact with other amazing creative souls.
Do you know any Australian slangs or jargon that you can share?
Yonks. And
Sorry, what does that mean?
it means like, I don't even know, like far away or like a lot. I don't know, a lot, something like that, yonks.
What do you think of Melbourne?
I think Melbourne's a good city. I do a lot of walking, a lot of cycling. It's reasonably crime-free. We've had some bad events recently, but generally it's a good city to live in.
So do you think there's something that Melbourne can improve on?
Ooh. Well, I am a cyclist, so probably more bike lanes on the roads would be better.
What do you think of Melbourne?
I think Melbourne is very multiculturalism. It's very kindly and friendly, especially for food. You can get all kinds of food in here.
We all came from China.
So what do you think of Australia and China? What's the main difference?
I think Australia is much more inclusive. It's like the city is full of like a welcoming atmosphere.
As an international student, I always feel like it's not as safe as usual than the past. When we came to Melbourne at 2018, I think it's much safer than right now.
If there's a chance for you to live in Melbourne permanently, would you choose to do so? If say the government say, hey, you're so smart, you're great, we like you, you pay a lot of taxes, we want you to stay here forever.
I think I'll consider it because I don't want to like live too far away from my parents because I'm the only child.
So what do you think of Melbourne?
I kind of enjoy the city here. There's a lot of food spots around. Good public transport system with the free tram line.
Do you share any Australian slangs or jargon? Or maybe jargon with your friends?
I have no idea, like good day mate or something. Like.
What do you think of Melbourne?
I love it. I think probably the best thing about Melbourne would be probably the music scene. So you've got a lot of shows and everything. Melbourne's got a really good metal scene. So you tend to have a lot of bands that come over to Melbourne or come from Melbourne.
What do you think of Melbourne?
Honestly, like I think it's a pretty good space for people to kind of see what Australia's more about, because you've got so many different restaurants with from different cultures and everything.
Melbourne, in my opinion, is the most colourful Australian city. People are really friendly. I used to live in Hobart, Tasmania. Hobart's very cold. People are very closed-minded and they like to keep their own little bubbles. You go to a different restaurant. In Hobart, it would have been, oh yeah, these people are just very close. Nobody really talks to you much. You don't get much interaction, and the most you get is just the food. Meanwhile, here you end up meeting people who've come to the restaurant themselves to have a chat, the actual restaurant owners themselves, etc., etc.
What do you think of Melbourne?
I think the weather is good, and the schools here are way more better than in our country.
Where are you from?
From the Philippines. After I finish this course, I think if I get the privilege to work here, then I'll stay here for good.
What do you think of Melbourne?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, on Saturday night, I was out partying and I seen a crackhead pass out naked in the alley. That's how you know this city likes to party.
What do you think of Melbourne?
Melbourne is a good city. I like the environment and people. I'm find friends.
What attracted you to Melbourne in the first place?
I think the lifestyle.
What's the major difference between France and Australia?
the culture is different. People is more open.
Have you learned any Australian slangs or jargon? Like
I try.
you try?
Like arvo for the afternoon.
It's a beautiful city actually. So depending upon the different situation, like the environment, you can see it's a beautiful sunny day today.
We are from Pakistan. So in Australia, there are also different kind of weathers, which is very natural for us and which is very friendly environment for living here as compared to other countries like UK.
I feel like Melbourne is like the best city in Australia. Just generally, it gives off like a really open vibe. I really enjoy my time in Melbourne and it's really great for partying. Like I'm from Germany, but I started off in Sydney. From Sydney I went to Perth, to Brisbane, Gold Coast. And from all these cities, I liked Melbourne the best.
Do you too think of Melbourne?
What do you think of Melbourne Blizzard? Yeah, pretty good. I've born here, so, and I've only lived for a very short time overseas, so come back and yeah, it's one of the best cities in the world. The weather is hot and cold sometimes, but other than that, it's, yeah, I call this place home.
What do you think of Melbourne?
Well, I don't come here very often, so I think it's awesome. Yeah, it's got quite a cool vibe to it. Pretty multicultural. I come from New Zealand. There's a lot more people here.
So what do you think of Melbourne?
I think it's a great city with a lot of diversity and a fair bit of culture behind it. For Melbourne, I used to live on the Mornington Peninsula.
There's a chance for you to live here long term or permanently. Would you choose to do so?
Probably here permanently, yeah. Lots of jobs, good potential for a future.
What do you think of Melbourne?
I love Melbourne, yeah. I was born and bred and been to some major cities in the US and been to Europe, and coming back here I kind of, realised we've got the best of everything in Melbourne.
What do you think there are some things that Melbourne can improve on?
Maybe work on our homelessness situation, more support for people who need it.
Could you share a Australian jargon or like a slang?
Fair income? It means like for real? Are you for real? Is that true? Fair income?
So what do you think of Melbourne?
It's a place where we study primarily, get good food, good culture. When the sun's shining, come sit on the grass in front of the library. I think it's just a beautiful place to study as well. I plan to travel to other cities just because growing up here, it's, you're going to get used to it. I'd love to go to Europe. All cities like Copenhagen would be beautiful, places like that.
I think Melbourne is an amazing city. I love the public transport. I love the architecture. I love, for example, today the weather is beautiful, so I can take this moment to eat with my girlfriend and enjoy this moment. I love the environment. I love the people, the diversity of the culture.
The architecture is amazing. Yes, amazing. The garden, the park in Melbourne is very big, amazing.
We are from Colombia. Bucaramanga is our city.
Is there some words only you and your hometown people know? Like
Parce.
Yes. What does that mean?
Parce is mate. Mate. Hey mate. Hey parce.
Parce.
For example, J Balvin, you know? J Balvin. Parce, this is el negocio socio. This is the business.
What do you think of Melbourne?
Huh?
Have you learned any Australian slang or jargon? Like g'day? Like some unique word only in Australia, people speak in Australia. Okay. What do you think of Melbourne?
Oh, I love it. It's a great city. Into summer, it's not too hot.
Where are you from?
Brisbane.
What do you think is the main difference between Brisbane and Melbourne?
Really, the heat. Brisbane's like way too hot during the day. The beaches.
Can you share some Australian jargon or slang?
Struth.
What does that mean?
So it's basically, if you drop something, let's say if you had a beer or something, you drop it, you're like, oh, struth. Bloody hell.
What do you think of Melbourne?
We love it here. So many shops and cafes and so much to do.
Living in Melbourne most of my life, I'm from Europe. We're just talking about today actually that Melbourne's so versatile, like there's so much to do and it's got the best shopping in the world. We just came from Chapel Street.
Can you share some Australian slangs or jargon?
G'day mate. Shrimp on a barbie.
What do you think of Melbourne?
I love Melbourne. It's great. It's fairly easy to navigate. I love coming here. I used to stay by Vic Market, which is a market where every Saturday or Sunday. They've got huge stalls, hundreds of people coming through. It's just really nice.
What do you think of Melbourne?
You want to go first as a local?
Sure, I live here. I love the city. I think it's got great places to go out.
I'm from Montreal and came here, like 8 months ago. Haven't left since. I'm fucking stuck here. Sorry, maybe I shouldn't swear. Love this city, honestly. There's so much to do. Arts, going out, drinks, food. Honestly, whatever you want, you'll find it here.
What do you think is the main difference between Montreal and Melbourne?
There's not many, except people speak English here.
Have you learned any Australian slangs or jargon or anything between
I'll probably
your
just
friends?
get bleeped out.
Mate.
Calling everyone mate, calling everyone a you know, fucking ranga. People will probably mock me because I can't make this Australian accent.
What do you think of Melbourne?
I love Melbourne. The city's very vibrant, the blossoms are coming out, it's all very exciting at the moment.
So where do you live before Melbourne?
In Canberra. Canberra is the capital of Australia, so it's very government orientated, it's very conservative, whereas Melbourne's not conservative at all. Canberra's very slow paced, Melbourne's very fast paced. A lot of Australian slangs or jargon. Hunky dory.
What does that mean?
Everything's good.